Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want to welcome you to the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world. It is the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, but it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then the socialist. Yours truly, the exceptional one himself, Ken McCutcheon at the microphone. Listen, big night, ladies and gentlemen, very big night. You know it's Tuesday night. You first and foremost, I hope that you like the look. Veronica McCormick, V Beauty. Thank you for making me look this good. Thank you. V Beauty. You'll find her on Facebook. She's in Temple Hills, Maryland, along with Infused. So there you go. Aloha, Mary, my bouncer. If you diss her, you diss me, and you will be dismissed. Want to thank R.J. Chittum's in the house tonight. Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy, and the Izzy tonight. Also want to thank everyone in the chat room. This is a big night. Tonight, I know all these bigots and haters and who are in the chat room with me this evening. They can't stand immigrants. I know they were descendants of immigrants. Some of them were immigrants, but they can't stand immigrants. They hate them because they're brown and black and blue and red and green and all the other colors of the. So we'll be talking about that tonight with a very good friend that I had the great occasion of meeting with at Freedom Fest, which is another reason why you should go to Freedom Fest next summer. Stephen Guschov, who is the executive director of Legal Immigrants for America, will be joining us in just a few. But you know how we work this thing. You know how we do this. Okay, you got the flag behind you for those who are watching via Ustream. Hopefully you got flags wherever you are. If you're Colin Kaepernick, or whatever his name is, you probably don't care. But for everyone else who's an American, we do care. You're going to put your hand over your heart, your right hand. Don't selectively use the left. Right hand over your heart. We're going to pledge allegiance to the United States of America. Our kids will lead us. Go for it.
Ready, begin. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Woo! That's how you do it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to some and present to others. We are about to bring on a good friend of ours. Because, you know, when you're filled with a room full of bigots and haters, I mean, sometimes you just need someone to give you a different viewpoint. And, quite frankly, I'm getting tired of being called a bigot and a hater because there are individuals who break the law, but feel because of their race they're entitled to do so, or their nationality they're entitled to do so. Well, we're going to bring to the fore the executive director of Legal Immigrants for America, down there in Winter Springs, Florida, that he is.
Hello.
Good evening. This is the exceptional one, Kim McClinton, and you are Stephen Guschov, the head of
Guschov.
Guschov. Forgive me, sir. The head of Legal
No
Immigrants for
problem.
America. It was a great pleasure meeting you at Freedom Fest, and glad to have you live on the air with us tonight.
Thank you, Ken. It's a pleasure to be with you. How are you doing?
Doing great. Listen, I'm one of those bigots and haters. You know, the ones where Black Lives Matter stands outside your place and start burning it down. I'm one of those people. And I've been told that it is wrong to stand up for legal immigration. And, sir, I want to be convinced by you that my bigotry and my hatred of those who illegally come here is justifiable.
So what you're saying, Ken, is Colin Kaepernick doesn't like you too much.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. First and foremost, Stephen,
You'll never be wearing a Colin Kaepernick football jersey.
I will never wear his jersey. That's no 7 in this household.
There you go.
Stephen.
There you go. Well, Ken, let me tell you, you're not a bigot. You're not a racist. You know what you are, if that's how you feel about immigration? You're a patriot.
Thank
is what you are. You're a patriot. You're someone who believes in the rule of law and supports legal immigration. And that's what we're all about here at Legal Immigrants for America, promoting legal immigration. It has nothing to do with hatred or bigotry against immigrants from anywhere in the world. We love legal immigrants. If you're an immigrant from anywhere in this world and you can come to this nation and better the American economy, God bless you, sir or madam. Just do it legally and we will welcome you with open arms to this nation. But do it legally.
Now, there are some people that don't know that there is a Legal Immigrants for America program in Florida. I suppose Florida and Texas, you're supposed to just welcome with open arms anybody that comes across the border, right?
Well, absolutely. And Legal Immigrants for America, we're a nationwide organization. We're based here in Orlando, Florida. People can read more about us online at our website, www.golifa.com, GOLIFA.com. And just to let people know what we're all about, Legal Immigrants for America, we're a 501c3. We rely on donations. We're nationwide. We had the wonderful privilege of meeting you in Las Vegas at Freedom Fest. And what we do is we promote legal immigration. We support legal immigration. We oppose amnesty in any way, shape, and form. We want to promote the enforcement of immigration laws that are on the books right now. You know, let me give you an example, Ken. You know, a lot of people say we need immigration reform in this nation. We don't need immigration reform whatsoever. We need immigration law enforcement is what we need. We have wonderful immigration laws on the books, but unfortunately we do not have an administration that will enforce them. Something else that the media, the mainstream or lamestream media never tells people is that legal immigrants are the ones most opposed to illegal immigration in this nation.
Really?
The media would make you think that, oh, if you're an immigrant in the USA, you must love all illegals. Absolutely false. We know tens of thousands of wonderful legal immigrants all across the USA who have bettered this nation economically. They're the ones that say, hey, we play by the rules. We stood in line. We respected the American rule of law, waited sometimes decades to get our citizenship, paid sometimes tens of thousands of dollars in fees, government fees, legal fees, etc., to get our citizenship, passed the civics test, did lots of different things. We did it legally. We did it appropriately. So why should illegals get to cut to the front of the line, get a big, wet kiss and a hug from the federal government, and get all the freebies in the world that you could ask for? Unfortunately, Ken, right now, you're actually probably better off being an illegal immigrant than a legal immigrant in this nation right now in terms of all the benefits you get from the government, and it should not be that way. And so those are some of the things we stand for. We oppose the amnesty. We want to enforce immigration laws, promote legal immigration. We favor strengthening our borders and building a wall. We want to defund sanctuary cities and sanctuary counties. We oppose H-1B visa abuse, just as we see right here in Orlando, when Disney World right here in Orlando laid off 250 American-born IT workers and replaced them with 250 Indian-born IT workers. We want to prohibit immigration from Muslim countries, and then the Syrian refugee program, because unfortunately ISIS terrorists are hidden among them and will slaughter more and more Americans, just as they're doing all across Europe. And so that, in a nutshell, are some of the things that Legal Immigrants for America stand for. And we have been ultra busy this season, right in the middle of the election, because of course, immigration is the #1 issue in the presidential campaign, and because it affects everything. Immigration affects jobs, the economy, unemployment, national security, healthcare, education. It affects everything. That's why it's such an important issue, and that's why we speak coast to coast at live speaking events and on the radio and on TV about the importance of promoting legal immigration in this nation.
Now, you mentioned amnesty. And the first thing I want to broach with you, because apparently our founding fathers never created a pathway to citizenship. And I mean that facetiously.
Very good. That's correct. A good line. I might steal that.
I must ask you, and I know it really perturbs you when you're going to events and there's the local village idiot who happens to sneak through and get in and attempts to raise his Mexican flag and tell you that there needs to be a pathway for citizenship in America. Is there a pathway for citizenship in America, and exactly what is it?
Look at the pathway for, yes, there is a pathway for citizenship in America, and that pathway begins in your own native land, applying legally to become an immigrant in this nation. It's very simple and straightforward. Do you want to become a citizen? That's wonderful. Apply appropriately at the U.S. Embassy in your own nation. Very, very simple. I mean, none of this is terribly complicated whatsoever. And so, yeah, if you want to become a citizen, just do it legally. It's that simple. Don't run across the border. Don't treat the border like it's a revolving door.
But what
happens? You want to become a citizen, show America what skills, talents, background, experience you have so that you can better this nation, and we will welcome you with open arms. Very simple.
But Stephen, you know the U.S. embassies are closed on Sundays. So, I mean, what? I mean,
well, you might have to wait till Monday and hope it's not Labor Day or another Monday holiday.
Exactly.
That will build patience, if nothing else. So now, you wait an extra 24 hours.
One of the other things is that many Americans, and I am one of them, finds it so distasteful that we have to press the #1 on our dial phone because if we press dial 2 or 3 or 4, we're speaking English, we're speaking Spanish or some other language. Pathway to citizenship includes the fact that you have to speak English. Am I right about that?
Well, you should learn English if you want to better yourself. Now, here's the funny thing. I lived for 7 years in South America, in Peru, and so I'm fluent in Spanish. And so I'm all about people learning different languages. And I think it's wonderful from an educational standpoint and a professional standpoint as well to learn other languages. But you're right, Ken, because, look, in California right now, I think they have different voting ballots and other public documents in like 7 different languages in San Francisco right now. It may have even hit double digits when I wasn't looking. But English is still the national language here. And frankly, English is also the international language of commerce. I lived in Peru, as I said, for 7 years, and I taught English as a second language to Peruvian professionals who wanted to learn English to better their careers. Well, if Peruvians want to learn English, Peruvian professionals, shouldn't everybody else? Those people were smart because they knew they would further their career professionally by learning English. It just makes common sense to want to do so, to learn English and to assimilate culturally as well. Those two things are so important for any immigrant to do if they want to succeed in this nation.
We are talking with Stephen Guschov, who is an ordained pastor, a lawyer, and the executive director of Legal Immigrants for America down in Orlando, Florida. Everyone in our chat room, and that's the name of the individual, everyone is asking, does Stephen Guschov think illegal immigrants will marginalize the American voters in a significant way this upcoming election? Thank you.
Will they marginalize them if they're allowed to vote?
California.
I mean, think of it. I know in places like California and New York, they want illegal immigrants to be able to vote. But just it's pure insanity is what it is. As I say, I lived in Peru for 7 years. Okay, so I was down there during the times of presidential elections and congressional elections, no different than what we have here. And if I had tried to stroll into any polling place in Lima, Peru, when I was living there, and say, "Hey guys, I'm an immigrant," and by the way, I was a legal immigrant. I had my residential immigration card down there. I'd say, "Hey guys, I'm not a Peruvian. I'm a U.S. citizen, but I want to vote in your election." They would have laughed me out of the polling place. They would have had me committed at that point. So why does a third world nation like Peru or anywhere else in this world have a better claim on this and make more sense than the U.S. does? But what you're seeing too is, of course, the Democratic Party wants illegal immigrants to vote.
Yes.
Why? Because they're going to promise them free everything as they're giving them right now, and they know that's going to mean votes for the Democrats, and so that's why they want them to vote, to just skew everything toward the Democratic Party. But it's absolute insanity. There is not a single other nation in this entire world where you could get away with that. And yet we are thinking about that in this nation. Talk about cultural suicide.
Exactly. We are talking with Stephen Guschov, and I'm so glad you're here tonight. We're going to bring you back a couple more times before the elections, because sometimes some people just don't get it the first time around. But amnesty... how would you define that legally, sir? What exactly is amnesty?
Amnesty, I'm going to give you my own definition. Amnesty is rewarding illegal behavior. That's what it is. I mean, that's seriously what it is. It's rewarding illegal behavior. Because how do you get amnesty? What do you have to do in order to receive amnesty? You have to have crossed this border illegally. Yeah. There is not a single legal immigrant anywhere in the United States that has ever received amnesty, because amnesty has nothing to do with legality. Amnesty means you're in this country illegally, but the government basically pats you on the head, says, there, now, all is forgiven, and even though you have committed a crime, we're going to overlook it, and we're still going to allow you to become either a U.S. citizen and give you all these wonderful benefits. Amnesty rewards bad behavior. It rewards illegality. You know, Ken, that I wrote a book called The Bible and Immigration, and amnesty as well is anti-biblical. It's also, from a spiritual standpoint and a biblical standpoint, rewarding sinful behavior as well.
Exactly.
That's what amnesty is all about.
Now, before we get to that, because I do want to talk with you about that, and especially because I have a very large listening audience of down low listeners. These are normally liberal pastors who would like to burn my house along with Black Lives Matter. But they're under the pause that somehow Jesus loved people breaking laws. But before we get to that, there are two major candidates running for the presidency of the United States of America. Since apparently Obama is no longer valuable to the rest of the world, since you can be cussed out in Asia. Donald Trump and Hillary Rodham Clinton. And I'm holding up on those who are watching via Ustream tonight. I want you all to pick up the phone, or at least write to, or go to the website, www.golifa.com, GOLIFA.com, Legal Immigrants for America. And we'll repeat that again towards the end of this particular interview. But Legal Immigrants for America down in Orlando, Florida. Go to their website and order your immigration voters guide for 2016. And when you get these, make copies of it. Give it to the people in your church.
Amen.
So they understand that there is a difference between Hillary Rodham Clinton and Donald J. Trump when it comes to immigration. But Donald Trump made a speech last week after visiting Mexico, and I don't believe he actually drank the water. But he sounded as if when he returned here, or when he was there, he was changing his opinion on amnesty. And when he came back home, he was changing it again. Is Donald Trump changing his opinion on amnesty?
No, he's not. He's not changing his opinion whatsoever. And just to follow up first on what you said before. Yeah, if people go to golifa.com, they can order or download the Immigration Voters Guide 2016 in either English or Spanish. We now have it available in English and Spanish. So just go onto the gallery at the top of the homepage. You'll see Immigration Voters Guide 2016. Click on it, and you can download it in English or Spanish or order copies. Because what we're doing is we're seeing lots of churches, Tea Party groups, and other groups ordering like hundreds of copies to distribute. And so we're able to do that as well. Trump is not changing his attitude or his platform on amnesty, whatever. He's just moderating his language about it is all he's doing, because we listened very carefully the other night when he was giving his speech in Arizona, because we wanted to make sure that he wasn't getting soft on us here, in the final, few weeks before the election. And we listened very carefully, listened to every word. He's not changing his message in terms of what he stands for. He's not changing his policy. He's just kind of, softening the language somewhat. But it's still the same message from Trump, where if you're an illegal, you cannot be rewarded for illegal behavior. You have to go back to your nation of origin and apply legally from that nation, from the embassy there, if you want to come to the U.S. in an appropriate and legal way. So he's really not changing his platform whatsoever.
Now, I want to go over, before we get into the biblical portion of it, just a few things regarding Hillary Rodham Clinton. Now, Hillary, and she may not remember this portion of the show, and that because of the brain injury. So she'll have to play it back a couple of times to remember. But you say here that she will not enforce existing immigration laws. Well, what immigration laws would she not enforce? Aren't they required to enforce all immigration laws?
They should, yes. It's a dereliction of duty, because what she has said is that she will follow Obama and his immigration policies, or non-policies, I should really say. Let me give you an example, for instance, and this goes to the point that I raised earlier about how there are great immigration laws on the books. Yeah. When we were in Las Vegas last January, we spoke to the Las Vegas Valley Tea Party, wonderful group, and there was a woman there who traveled all the way from Arizona to Las Vegas to hear us speak and hear our speaking engagement. And she came up to me after. She said, Steve, she said, I live in Arizona right on the border, and a few months ago, she said, someone broke into my house in the middle of the night. I heard glass breaking. I woke up. I called 911 right away, called the police, the feds, ICE, Border Patrol, everyone. And they came over, and they arrested the guy. And it was an illegal who just, ran across the border. He broke into her house. He was looking for, how it is, cash, jewelry, money, anything that he could fence very quickly. They captured him, red-handed. They had him. And then they kind of sheepishly turned to the woman and said, gee, gosh, golly, wow, ma'am, we hate to tell you this, but we have orders from on high, like from Washington, that we have to let this guy go. And they were embarrassed, because you have right now Border Patrol agents who do have the authority to arrest and prosecute illegals, but they're under orders from on high, coming from Washington, really coming from the White House, that they got to let these people go and treat them with kid gloves. And so it goes to that same point, where you have great laws on the books right now, but you do not have an administration right now that will enforce them. And so when Hillary says that she's going to basically follow in Obama's, footsteps on immigration, it means that everything that he is not enforcing now, she will not enforce either.
Now,
and so a bad problem gets even worse.
You're one of those haters that don't want the Syrian Muslim refugees coming to this country, right? Don't they qualify? Don't they qualify for our kindness and our rewards for them coming to our country?
Well, here's what they qualify for, and let me actually preface my remarks by saying this. I wrote the Bible on immigration, and I'm a Christian, and I feel terrible for the Christians in Syria and all throughout the Middle East who are being persecuted. Absolutely, positively, they are being persecuted, and it's a horrendous, horrendous thing. Here's the problem, though, is the Syrian refugee program is riddled with ISIS members all throughout it, sneaking into this country, and they're going to slaughter Americans the same way that they have slaughtered Europeans all across that continent. Two examples. When you look at the attacks in Paris and in Brussels, both instances, the terrorists were ISIS members who had snuck into Europe as part of the Syrian refugee program in the European Union. They snuck into Europe, claiming to be poor, persecuted Christians, snuck into Europe and went to Paris, slaughtered 130 people in Paris, went to Brussels, slaughtered 30 or so people there as well. Why? Because they were able to sneak in under the Syrian refugee program. Look, I would love to help Syrian Christians, absolutely positively, but we cannot run the risk of Americans being slaughtered on a regular basis like what is happening in Europe. That's why we have to end the program, and that is not being mean-hearted or cold-hearted. It's actually being very compassionate toward American citizens so that they don't suffer the same fate as the 130 people in Paris or the 32 people in Brussels. So it's actually quite compassionate to end the Syrian refugee program because you're saving the lives of many Americans in doing so.
We have not put up Stephen's book just yet, and I will take care of that after tonight's show because I really want you all to do what you can to get this book and read it and be confident in terms of the Bible and immigration. And we will have our great friend come back in a few weeks and we'll talk about that. And the reason is very simple. We're reaching out to a lot of constituencies who normally would not vote a certain way because, gosh darn it, people like me are bigots and racists, and we just hate people because of the color of their skin and where they come from. And the truth of the matter is that has nothing to do with it. It's simply that we believe in a rule of law and that everyone must follow that law. And if they don't, well, there's no different than you preaching the gospel to people. If they don't follow your gospel, they don't believe in your gospel, and thus it is of null effect. So in terms of the Bible and immigration, Stephen Guschov is with us tonight. Why did you write this book?
I wrote this book, Ken, because so many pastors and churches and denominations get it wrong about what the Bible and immigration is all about. First of all, a lot of pastors and churches would say, oh, the Bible doesn't talk anything about immigration. Yes, it does. It says lots about immigration. Or other pastors and churches will promote this false sense of compassion is actually anti-biblical. And so I studied the scriptures and wrote The Bible and Immigration. People can order it online at GoLifa.com. Again, GOLIFA.com. They can order the book right there. We're actually already into the second printing, by the way. We sold out the first printing already, and so we're into the second printing of the book. And the book basically talks about the responsibilities of the immigrant, the responsibilities of the government, the responsibilities of the Christian with regard to immigration. For instance, let me give you a few examples in the book. Borders, we talk all the time about borders and building a wall and strengthening our borders and having borders. Well, in the Old Testament, Ken, God ordains borders for the Promised Land. God ordains very specific borders for the Promised Land. There's a northern, southern, eastern, and western border for the Promised Land ordained by God. Well, you know what? If borders are good enough for the Promised Land, I think they're good enough for the U.S. and Mexico as well. God talks about how the importance of borders, and what people need to understand too is this book, The Bible and Immigration, this isn't my opinion on it. This is simply what the Bible says about immigration. So it's taking verses from the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, and saying what God says about immigration and immigration-related issues. So God ordains borders, for instance. Elsewhere in the Old Testament, God actually ordains the prohibition of certain immigrant groups from his Israelite society. He allows the prohibition of immigrants, specifically Ammonites and Moabites in Deuteronomy. So God allows a nation to prohibit certain groups of immigrants. We hear today about how, it's so terrible to ban Muslims and you can't do that, and actually the President of the United States, any president, Democrat or Republican, already has the right to do so under the 1952 McCarran-Walter Act, but God ordains it as well. God allows the prohibition of immigrant groups, certain immigrant groups, when they are not culturally assimilating. In the New Testament, in Romans 13, the Apostle Paul talks all about the rule of law and respecting the rule of law, and how there are penalties to be paid if you violate the rule of law. Well, the moment anyone crosses the border illegally They are violating American rule of law. No exception is made in the Bible for compassion. Even in the Old Testament, the Bible talks about how, if someone steals, a loaf of bread or something because they have to feed their family, they still have to face the consequences. And that's where I tell you that a lot of pastors get this wrong, because they build this false narrative of compassion. And all they're actually doing is enabling illegality and criminality, bad behavior, and sin. Let me give you an example. Here in Orlando, I had a debate recently with a pastor who said, "Oh, this is terrible, what you're doing. We as Christians have to be all compassionate, and we deal with illegals all the time, and we love them and love on them, and we're very compassionate to them." So I said, "Pastor, let me ask you a couple questions." I said, "Do you have a program in your church, like an Alcoholics Anonymous sort of thing, something like that?" "Oh, yeah, we have the best AA program in Orlando, and we've helped out hundreds of people, and they're doing great, and we have the best program in Orlando." I said, "That's wonderful. Congratulations." I said, "When people graduate from your AA program at your church, do you give them a six-pack of Budweiser as a graduation gift?" "Well, of course not. They're alcoholics. We'd never do that." Looks at me like I'm crazy. I said, "All right, Pastor, another question." I said, "Do you have some sort of drug rehab program in your church?" "Oh, yeah, best one in Orlando, and we're helping tons of drug addicts, hundreds of them, to clean up their lives, clean up their act, get back into society, and it's the best program in Orlando." I said, "Wonderful. Congratulations." I said, "When those people, those addicts, when they graduate from your program, do you give them, some crack as a graduation gift?" "Of course not. Why would we ever?" He's looking at me like I'm nuts. I said, "Okay, so what you're saying, Pastor, is you would never enable bad behavior." Of course, that's what I'm saying." I said, "So then when someone comes into this nation illegally, and the moment they step across the border has committed a crime, committed an illegality, has committed a criminal act, why would you enable further bad behavior by enabling them, by giving them all sorts of these stuff?" I said, "You don't give a six-pack to an alcoholic, you don't give crack to a drug addict, but you're enabling bad behavior by illegal aliens by helping them in their illegality." Well, the debate ended right about there. He suddenly had to go somewhere else.
Exactly.
So, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same mindset.
It is.
And again, from a political or legal standpoint, if you're a pastor or a church or a denomination that's aiding illegal aliens, you're aiding illegality and criminality. And from a biblical standpoint, you're enabling sin as well. You cannot, as a pastor, get away with this argument that, oh, we're trying to be nice and compassionate when you're enabling sinful behavior. You can't do it. Now, here's the thing, because this is where pastors get tripped up all the time. Look, as an individual Christian, yes, we can be compassionate. I'm a Christian, so if I see someone on the street and they need food, water, blankets, clothing, shelter, whatever, I will help them in my individual capacity as a Christian. I don't care if they're legal or illegal. I will help them as a Christian. That is entirely different from government rule of law. One does not have anything to do with the other. And that's why Romans 13 is so important, where the Apostle Paul talks about how important it is to obey and respect and abide by the rule of law. And that's the difference that a lot of pastors don't get. An individual Christian, of course, can be compassionate to anyone.
Yeah.
Jesus talks about that in Matthew 25. That does not mean that the government needs to be doing so as a governmental policy. Justice is superior to compassion when you look at what governments are supposed to be all about. That's why I wrote the Bible in immigration, to set the record straight on not what I say, but what God says about immigration. So people can get the Bible in immigration at golika.com.
And you know what? There's some people who are listening on the download tonight that are slightly swayed by what you're saying, but listen, I got to face these people right before an election. And I got to tell them that, and I'm a pastor. I don't want to tell people I'm wrong because I'm next to God. How do I convey this message to my community, to my friends, to my family, that maybe a different perspective needs to be considered, and that I should not be breaking the law or helping someone break the law in order to become a part of a country that observes the law?
Well, I would tell them, that's a great question. I would tell them, I would say, friend, it doesn't matter what Ken says about this issue. It doesn't matter what Stephen says about this issue. It matters what God says about this issue. So they have to look to the Bible in terms of what God himself says, not what a pastor says, not what a church says that doesn't understand the Bible or preach it, correctly. That's why this book is so important. A lot of people have bought this book for their pastors. For instance, just last night we had a large speaking engagement in Central Florida. We sold tons of copies, and dozens of people were buying the book for their pastors because they were, members of churches where the pastors weren't getting it right. And so again, it doesn't matter really, Ken, what you say or what I say. It's what the Bible says about this, and that's why I wrote the Bible and Immigration, so that people would know correctly what the Bible says, what God says about immigration.
Just one final question for you, and I want you to tell everybody where they can get the book, and we'll have you back in the next few weeks or so, so that they have time to have read it and can question you about your validity, because you certainly can't tell me anything about the Bible. I've read it once. But how about
Sunday school and kindergarten?
Exactly. You can't tell me nothing. God is good all the time. All the time, God's good. How much do U.S. taxpayers spend on illegal immigrants in the U.S.?
Well, let me give you a couple of statistics. And like I say, if people go to GoLIFA.com, they can order the Bible and Immigration, the book, or they can also order the Immigration Voters Guide. And on the back cover of the Immigration Voters Guide, we have some illegal immigration statistics. So let me read you a couple of them to help answer your question. Right now, it costs $12 billion a year in the United States to pay for the primary and secondary school education for the children of illegal immigrants. It also costs $1.6 billion a year in the U.S. to pay for the imprisonment of illegal immigrants. And it's estimated that it may cost U.S. taxpayers as much as $6.3 trillion over the next 50 years to legalize current illegal immigrants. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of zeros. And are the illegals paying any of that? Of course not. You, me, and the American taxpayers are the ones footing that bill. And it will break our backs economically as a nation.
6.3 trillion. Woo! Oh my God!
You want to write that check, Ken? I don't have that many zeros.
I got those zeros. Stephen, it's great having you on the air with us. Thank you for being a ray of light and salt to the earth for many who tuned in tonight, who for the first time have to consider their ways when it comes to immigration, and not only whom they vote for, but how they vote for them. Once again, tell them the website that people can go to tonight to order the book, get the book tonight, and to get all the other reference information regarding legal immigration to America.
Absolutely. The Legal Immigrants for America website is at www.golifa.com. That's GOLIFA.com. And they can order the Bible and Immigration online, and they can also order the Immigration Voters Guide in either English or Spanish online at golifa.com as well.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. And for those who are watching via Ustream, let me put up the guide once more, because this is something that's missing from your church bulletin, maybe. You need to order the guide from Legal Immigrants for America. It's called the Voter's Guide, just to make it simple enough for you to understand. The Voter's Guide, and inside it has the information on how both of the candidates feel about immigration. And let me assure you, one of the candidates you will agree with, but you probably won't vote for them because they happen to have an R behind their name. You know what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having Stephen on the air with us tonight. God bless you, sir. We look forward to you coming back.
Thanks, Ken. It was great. God bless you.
God bless you. Stephen Guschov with us tonight. We will be back for more. And for those down low listeners, listen, nobody's looking at you when you go in the booth. You can come out of the booth and tell everybody you voted for Hillary. But when you go, remember, we talked about immigration tonight. On the next few weeks, we'll be talking about the economy. Last night, we talked about education and how to get your child into school. You have been placed under a lot of lies in your lifetime, and you have a woman who's practicing lying to take up the mantle to become president of the United States of America. Aren't you tired of this already? Already? You can do something about it. First, order the book, and you can go to GOLIFA.com, GOLIFA.com. And I don't get a penny off of any of this. I'm just letting y'all know. I want you to make prudent and wise decisions based on the information that you have. GOLIFA.com. Get the book, get the voter's guide, read the voter's guide, and then get copies of it so that you can give to other people in your congregation. You could have an effect on this election that others simply would not have. We're going to be back in just a few, and we will listen as we move forward with a young man who's very spry in the area of conservative talk. Yes, a very young man who's had a great deal of rest over the past 2 weeks. None other than the unpleasant blind guy, Dave Milner. We'll be back.
Time for an unpleasant blind guy, conservative bite. When those who propagandize send a message to one person, they're usually sending it to others. In this case, the recipients are the viewers of the television program The View. Though the video attached to the article that I'm going to cover, that was brought to my attention via Nicola Taylor and is by Ian Hanchett of Trump Art, dated June 14, 2016, has embedded in it a portion of the program featuring all of The View denizens. The article concentrates on one particular one of these, Joy Behar. The headline, Joy Behar, Trump basically working with ISIS to kill us, committing treasonous acts. Now this, of course, covers the Orlando nightclub shooting, where 49 Americans were killed by an Islamic terrorist. The View cacklers cover it all. If you don't agree with them, you're a racist. And Joy Behar, in particular, said the perpetrator of the attack comes from a religion that says it's absolutely an abomination to be gay. So he has a self-hatred that he might have incorporated, that he might feel he hates himself for what he is. In her words, listen, it's not uncommon. Let us not forget all of the Republican congressmen and senators, a lot of them, who have voted against gay rights, who then we find out are in the bathroom, tap, tap, tapping. Remember that guy, Larry Craig? There's a lot of that going around. Well, I think I can count incidents and instances of that on the fingers of one hand. I'm not really sure that I would call that a lot. And it has to be pointed out that none of those individuals were Muslims who went on Islam-inspired killing sprees. But the soundbite embedded in this article does cover a lot of idiocy, such as the following.
The thing about Trump, though, is that he's the recruiter in chief. He is for ISIS. He is basically working with ISIS to kill us. They are working together. Yes. Remember what I'm saying.
And why do you say this, Joy?
Because every time you go after the Muslims and you talk about how they shouldn't come into the country and how they're all a bunch of whatevers, you are saying to ISIS, make another video to show people who are sympathetic to your cause. And don't think they haven't made many videos showing Donald Trump. He is a dangerous menace to the country.
And let's be absolutely sure we understand the message that Joy Behar put out here. Though the message was directed at Donald Trump, what the message said was, you shouldn't talk about how Islam inspires Muslims to kill people or Muslims are going to kill people. Now, guys, this is a lot like calling out a domestic abuser on their violence towards others. They don't like it and they'll turn violent. There's only one way to deal with that. Separate yourself from the abuser. And if they abuse again, hit them with the full force of the law. Appeasing abusers never has worked, and it never will. The followers of Mohammed have a plan for world domination, and they're implementing that plan right now. And no amount of pandering or other codependent behavior on the part of our society is going to sway them from doing everything they can to ensure the success of that plan.
Do you think that because he is the recruiter in chief, and by his words he's getting more people to go on the side of ISIS, that he could be considered treasonous? I mean, that is against the Constitution. That is against America. That's a treasonous act, in my opinion.
Now, while I know that, for the most part, to leftists, the Constitution of the United States is best suited for toilet paper, I have to point out that freedom of speech is not against the United States Constitution. One may express one's opinion in any way one wishes to. In fact, that is why the First Amendment of the United States Constitution is there in the first place. It protects people like Donald Trump, and it protects people like the harpies of The View. But this is all part of the message aimed at View consumers. The message? It's all right to control speech as long as we can come up with a good enough excuse. In this instance, blasphemy laws. Don't say anything bad about Islam. That's not covered by free speech. That's hate speech. People, the Constitution of the United States of America is there for all Americans who are prepared to defend it on behalf of their fellow Americans. It is not subject to exception or negation by privileged celebrities with lots of money, armed security, and a big voice. When people like the crones of The View start telling you how to vote, and especially how to think, run, don't walk in the opposite direction. This has been an unpleasant blind guy conservative fight.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe, Book Reaver, Comic Sense. You can catch me every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on shrmedia.com. That's every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shrmedia.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to work out in our chat roll exactly how do you, when someone sneezes or coughs, do you say bless you or do you say Hillary? We'll figure that out as we go on with the Exception Conservative Show. We'll be back with more right after these messages.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying capitalist.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Saki as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press, Live, Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
Now, Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. We also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
From coast to coast, there is one bank focused on building a better future. One bank with programs you can trust to help boost your economic picture. One United Bank. With rates better than the national average, no hidden fees, and even cashback debit cards, you'll feel the boost in your budget. One United Bank, the premier bank for urban communities in Boston, Miami, and Los Angeles. Visit us at oneunited.com or call 877-1UNITED today. Member FDIC.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Exception Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. That's Washington, D.C. to you and me. We are one of the most influential urban conservative talk shows in the world. Now, let me explain that to you, and let me thank a lot of people for all of the help in us being so influential. This morning, in fact, of the website visitors, over 40% of the website visitors, just as in the early morning, were from Russia. And when you look at the other 19%, 7% of that from China, 12% from the Ukraine. Great Britain, 14%. Ladies and gentlemen, we are being listened to around the world. People are coming here and they're listening to this and saying, you know what? I'm a conservative. I didn't know it, but I'm a conservative. And not only are they coming once, but they're coming twice, they're coming 3 times, 4 times, they're staying. They're listening to this program. And I made a conversational note to my very great friend, Janis Hall, the J Hall World Report. There is one continent that seems to be absent. We're listening to in Australia, Antarctica, Europe, Asia, South America, North America, Africa. So we're going to make a very concentrated attempt to begin reaching the African nations. Because if we can spread the good news of Christianity, conservatism, constitutionalism, and capitalism around the world, we are more effective than the U.S. military in defeating ISIS. Everybody wants to be wealthy. Everybody wants to be free. Everybody wants good government. And everyone should want to know Christ. So I'm going to tell you all, we're growing by leaps and bounds. Thanks to SHR Media for carrying us live tonight. Thank you. Love you. And whatever happening in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. But I'm getting Mama together so we can sue Saki and Sean. Just Saki and Sean. Clint and Sacco have nothing to worry about. Also, want to thank the great people at High Plains Pundit Media. Jane does all the work. Dan gets all the credit. We love them. We thank them for carrying us live. And at 2 a.m. on the Liberty Channel, smooches to the good people at Red Nation Rising. Primo Mondone is celebrated with the great work that they're doing in terms of spreading the good news of conservatism around the world. And thank you all so much for tuning in. But also, for all of you all who are doing on the download, sending my stuff out via video in Brazil, I ain't mad at you. But thank you. Send a little something back this way. That's all I'm saying. Because I promise you, I won't tear down any posters in your gas stations. Y'all got guns at the gas station. I don't know how that happens. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Janis Hall will be joining us in the J Hall World Report in just a few. We're going to talk about Africa. We're going to talk about Russia. We're going to talk about the world. She brings the complexities of the world down to the kitchen table so that you understand it and have fun learning about it. Mary Brockman says, Mamba, you want rights? Become a Latino or Muslim lawyer. There you go. True. We'll be right back with more of the best right after these wonderful messages from people that love us so much they're willing to sponsor us. And today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepared here. We're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage that we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Fish and grits, and our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused heat burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA round chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burger, and we're gonna grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're gonna add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit. Talking a good meal, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland. Make it your place.
Now, Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. We also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
From coast to coast, there is one bank focused on building a better future. One bank with programs you can trust to help boost your economic picture. One United Bank. With rates better than the national average, no hidden fees, and even cashback debit cards, you'll feel the boost in your budget. One United Bank, the premier bank for urban communities in Boston, Miami, and Los Angeles. Visit us at oneunited.com or call 877-1UNITED today. Member FDIC.
We'll be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk. Don't stop feasting on the flavor of urban conservative talk. Go to theexceptionalconservativeshow.com. There you can Facebook us, tweet us through Twitter, download our podcast and our mobile app. Listen, take us wherever you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. We certainly are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican, and then the socialists. We are about to contact the beautiful and the brilliant, vivacious Janis Hall. For some odd reason, it appears that on Tuesday nights I never have her phone number. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I ruefully will be criticized for not having the phone number. I don't understand why I don't have the phone number with me at the moment. We are going to figure out how I get my phone so that I can call this person. I tell you, this is, let's see, let's try this number here. Let's see. No, that's not it. Oh, okay, all right. This is simply tiringly amazing. Part of the reason why I do need a staff now, I am just completely overloaded. Need a staff. Oh man. Let's see. And Janis is just awesome. Just an awesome individual. Okay. There we go. All right. I know what I gotta do. Here we go. All right. Nothing says recovery like getting the number. So there we go. And bingo! We dial. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, ringy dingy 1, ringy dingy 2. None other than the beautiful and vivacious Janis Hall, the J Hall World Report. Good evening, young lady.
Good evening.
It is a great pleasure to have you with us. Listen, Labor Day, the greatest day in the world, right? You don't have to go to work and people cook for you. How was your Labor Day?
My Labor Day was pretty good. I didn't actually do anything yesterday.
Good.
But on Sunday I hung out with some people. So that was fun.
A day of rest. I am glad that you had it, and you deserve it. So, listen. There are a lot of things going on around the world. And I must tell you that I have received a lot of commentary from what we said about Rio, Brazil in the Olympics. And firstly, that you are a great commentator regarding world affairs. But that I'm pure evil for convincing you that it was wrong for them to have the Olympics in Rio. So I apologize.
Maybe a little.
I apologize for convincing you that Rio was a bad place where dead bodies were floating down the Amazon River to hold the Olympics. I'm just too oppressive, I suppose, in terms of your viewpoint.
I think generally the Olympics went off relatively fine. Obviously it wasn't perfect, but nothing is.
Yeah.
And obviously the Ryan Lochte situation angered me, but I feel like that has more to do with the incompetence and corruption of the Brazilian government rather than them not putting on a good Olympics.
Mm-hmm. So it's not the Brazilian people. So I just want to make we're not complaining about the Brazil, or at least I'm not. Well, you're not.
I'm not complaining about the Olympics. I am only complaining about the Brazilian government.
There we go. So for all the people in Rio who may have been upset because of my commentary, I'm glad you're still listening. It's your government that sucks, not you. All right, so.
And I would say a lot of Brazilians would agree with that statement.
Thank you. See, I'm not off. I'm not completely off here. Talk about tough weekends. Is President Obama still president? Because I think he was treated like just an ordinary American citizen this weekend in Asia.
Yeah. He doesn't seem to be the most popular person. Probably a shock to him.
Exactly. So people around the world have stopped worshiping Barack Hussein Obama, and he got the message, right?
He seems to have, yes.
Wow. Can I talk?
Go ahead.
I want to talk with you firstly about the fact that the thin-skinned president, and maybe he's right, should have canceled the meeting. But the Filipino president, Duarte, had some words for him.
Yeah.
What were those words?
Very special words. Okay, so the story is as follows. Yes. Okay. These are actually heads of state involved in this story. So the Filipino president decided that well, basically one of his favorite insults is to call someone the son of a whore, essentially. So he decided to call Obama that because, why not, right? Because apparently Obama was going to come in and talk about and voice displeasure at the vigilante justice that's going on in the Philippines currently. So then Duarte was, unhappy at his comment, and then Obama. Now, I know that we criticize Obama a lot, but I think in this case, he did the right thing. He canceled the meeting with the Filipino president, and instead decided to have a conversation with the South Koreans. And what's even funnier is that after being canceled on, he comes out and says, "Oh, I'm very sorry about this. I didn't mean to say it." Like, well, you did. What you say does have consequences.
Now, it's. I mean, when you get hit in the back of your car by someone else's car, words might spill because you're aggravated at that point.
Right.
If someone cuts you off on the highway, words might come.
Yeah.
These words. Yeah.
There's lots of instances this can happen.
Yeah.
Public press conferences are generally not one of them.
This was not his first rodeo when it comes to press conferences, right?
No, not at all. He called the Pope also a son of a whore. He called the American ambassador to the Philippines the same thing. So it's one of his favorite insults, actually. But here's the thing. Those two people couldn't really do much about it, but Obama can. So I'm glad he at least got enough of a spine to say, nope, not going to talk with you.
Well, he was blessed twice. Because some people just get one. Our president got both. SOB and son of a whore. So he's not, apparently he's not looked upon favorably by this particular president. Now, why was President Obama trying to meet with Philippine President Duarte?
Well, because primarily since he's come to power, there's been a lot of vigilante justice going on. We've had thousands. Okay, not thousands. It's over 1,000, but it's not like we're not talking like 50,000 or anything like that. There's been a lot of killings of supposed, and probably rightfully so, drug dealers in the Philippines and criminals in general. And, it's all been done without due process, and it's generally not how people generally conduct justice.
Yeah.
So Obama wanted to talk with him about it and say, I'm assuming he was going to say something along the lines of, what you're doing is not cool. It's a violation of a lot of human rights. And maybe you should try and get your vigilantes under control. I imagine that was probably what the conversation was going to go, to some degree.
He was going to be lectured. He was going to be told.
Yeah. Yes, he was.
You're a bad human being because you believe in vigilantism. You believe in taking the law in your own hands.
Yes. He may also believe in vegetables.
Yes, he does. He believes in those too. But in Chicago, almost 400 people have been killed, and it's not even the end of the year yet. Since this gentleman has become president, which was like November of last year, 2,400 drug dealers or quote unquote potential drug dealers have been killed by either his police or military or citizens in that particular country. Because what he ran on was, when I win, we're going to get every single drug dealer off our corners. Now, he's keeping a promise, right?
He is. He certainly didn't lie. He said what he was going to do before the election. He was voted in, and now he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do, which is, by any means, get the drug dealers off the streets.
Wow. We got almost 400 killings in Chicago, and he's going to go lecture this guy about drug dealing? I think not.
Yes.
I think not.
Well, I mean, this is a new thing for the Philippines. I think everybody, I mean, nobody cares about Chicago, right? Isn't that the story?
Exactly. No one cares about Chicago. Chicago's just another Dodge City. Doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Not important.
Not important. We're talking with Janis Hall, the J Hall World Report. You know, she brings the complex issues of the world down to the kitchen table so that we all understand and can talk about it the next day at the water fountain. And you're getting a lot of world attention because you're doing that week after week after week, and we thank you for doing that. I want to broach this other issue with you, and it's Germany. And we have a lot of German listeners now. And thank God for you in Nuremberg, Germany. Thank you so much for tuning in on a nightly basis. We really appreciate it because I know it's early in the morning in Germany at this point. But apparently, what the rest of the world isn't talking about on the cable channels, and that's why we're the mainstream media, is Angela Merkel has gotten a little note on her front door. What's that note all about?
That note figuratively says, "We do not like your immigration policy. We do not like having 1 million plus illegal refugees in our country. And we are going to vote for candidates who want to do something about it and want to solve the problem."
Wow. So, literally, they've decided to go to the, and this is coming on the heels of the Brexit vote just a few months back, where England left the European Union. Who's fighting this fight in Germany against Angela Merkel?
Well, there's a couple different parties. The one that's garnering attention, and I think the larger one, is called Alternative for Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, like I said, they're running on the platform of don't like all these illegal refugees here. Not okay. We like Germany. We are proud of Germany and Germany's heritage. And essentially we had local election in northeast Germany. And the Alternative for Germany came in third.
Wow.
Wow, I'm having a moment now.
Wow. So
they came above Merkel's party. I can tell you that.
What? Well, so Angela Merkel's party, and this is she has an election coming up next year, right?
Yes.
Now, so before her election, the Conservative Party in Germany has upset her Liberal Party.
Yes.
And they're taking charge of the parliament there, or the legislative body there.
Sort of.
Sort of. Okay.
Sort of. A little bit.
Uh-huh.
They essentially, what happened is the party that won with around 31% of the vote is actually generally they form coalition with Merkel's Christian Democrats, with her group. So generally speaking, you know, they don't have all of the power in the world, even at this local level, but they are certainly gaining momentum, and the Christian Democrats are certainly losing a lot of their standing.
But wait a minute. Why isn't Barack Obama and the rest of the liberal media in America telling us about what happened to? Because this is a knock at the door for an eviction notice in 2017. That's the way I'm taking it. Why are they not talking about that here in America?
Well, I don't want to talk about it. It's not fun news, right? It's not the EU is the greatest thing ever, and we need to support all of these refugees. So they don't necessarily want to cover it.
So the alternative, and I need to work on getting the leader for the alternative party. Is it alternative party or something? What is that group? Alternative for Germany. Okay. Remind me. I'm going to do my best next week to have them come on Tuesday night from Germany. I want to hear their resolve against Angela Merkel. They criticized Nigel Farage in Britain. They said there was no way Britain was leaving the European Union. Bam, they're out the door. All of a sudden, the Alternative for Germany party and the center or more moderate or more conservative parties are really giving her a go at this point.
Yeah.
Is there a likelihood she could lose next year?
I think there's definitely a likelihood. And the reason I say this is, yes, the situation is Germany is not good right now, but guess what? It's just going to get worse.
Yeah. Because 2 weeks ago we talked about the fact that Merkel and her administration sent out some type of notice to the people to plan for a eventual terrorist attack. How many days?
Yeah.
It wasn't 3 days, was it?
It was like 10 days.
Wow.
10 days.
Wow.
Maybe it's just a German thing, want to be really, really prepared. If you can do it right, let's, do it extra right. I don't know. It was still a long time.
I listen, for all the Germans who tune in, I love your nation, wonderful nation. But before they start building mosque in little black boxes that they call Mecca, I suggest wholeheartedly that you get rid of your prime minister. I'm just saying, might be a smart move on your point. Now, Janis, I'm reaching out to a continent that normally doesn't listen to our program. And that continent happens to be Africa. And so tonight, I want to start with a country that I visited and that I am woefully concerned about when it comes to politics, because I think they replaced apartheid with another form of racism and segregationism. South Africa. Apparently, they had an election recently, and the African nationalists Congress, they weren't too happy about it. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so early in August, at again some local elections, the African National Congress didn't do so hot, and
were they getting counsel from Merkel?
Probably. And I mean, basically, what they are is they were originally, a movement, anti-apartheid, and they, then kind of have tried to transition into a political party.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the problem with that has been, though, that it's kind of hard to give up your movement roots, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times they still just focus on, race relations and things like that, rather than specifically politics.
Yeah.
And the other problem is that there's some serious corruption going on within their ranks. And it seems that in the last month or so, they've really dug their heels in on, some of the corruption things.
Yeah.
Really holding the money really tightly to try and control everything. Politics in South Africa. So we'll see. It's not looking very good. I can tell you that. I know that what?
So the ANCs are standing behind their presidential candidate, as stained as he is, and
yeah.
I've seen articles in other areas in terms of the Daily Mail in London and other areas of the continent that it's not, let's say, old. It's not a fresh scandal. It's this guy who's the president is world known for his scandal, kind of like Hillary Rodham Clinton, and the ANCs are backing him. But what are the people doing?
Well, I mean, obviously, as we can see, kind of from the elections, they are not wholly buying it. I think that they're still going to get some support. But I think that, as you're saying, a lot of the luster and a lot of the pull of the party seems to be tainted, and that is going to continue to hurt them in the future.
Wow. I'm ever hopeful, because Winnie Mandela was a part of the ANCs. In fact, one of the creators of it, and they were a very violent group of people. If they're losing it at the local level, which is being reported, and only winning at the national level, it's only a matter of time before they're replaced. And does that put people in fear in South Africa that maybe the ANCs will overreact and act in a very violent manner against them?
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I think it's possible in the sense that, they still are, there's still kind of a movement as well, not just a political party.
Yeah.
So they're, partially interested in doing things that are not necessarily just talking behind closed doors and handshakes, but actually being out in the street and, talking to people and getting, groups of people together and all of that type of stuff. And the other thing is the corruption.
Yeah.
And the fact that They clearly don't have any will to change. It's pretty bad. It's basically the corruption's kind of running everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're using it to try and keep the power that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't imagine that, I mean, that strategy may work for a while, but it seems that it may not work forever.
You know, that
One
sounds,
would hope, at least.
that sounds like the Democrat Party here in America. It really does. I want to ask you finally, and we're talking with Janis Hall and J Hall War Report. You know, everyone knows that Tuesday nights are my fun night. I really enjoy talking with Janis about world issues, bringing the world to the kitchen table. But I remember you speaking about this about a year and a half ago, and we've been wondering ever since how this nation could possibly stand. Even to the point where the military doesn't even receive pay anymore and they can't even feed themselves. How is it that Venezuela is still alive and kicking?
It's I don't know. I mean, it's definitely close. It's on the brink. I mean, it's been on the brink for a while now. They just had a huge rally, like over 1 million people.
Woo!
Yeah, we're in the streets to essentially protest, obviously Maduro's policies, and to try and move up the timeline for an election. And another thing that I did find, which could also be part of a problem, or maybe not a problem, but part of the reason why Venezuela is still technically standing is that they did, the military, those loyal to the president, did arrest, I believe it was arrest, I don't think they killed him, I believe it was just arresting, close to 100 paramilitary forces who had gathered, and one can only assume that, they were making a coup of some degree.
Wow! You know, you were so right a year and a half ago, and if anybody goes back and listens to the old shows, we talked about the fact of a potential coup. Are we months away, days away? Are people so hungry now they're willing to do whatever it takes?
Well, the fact that this seems to be a very slow spiral, I would say that we still seem to be relatively far away. Unless there are other paramilitary groups that we don't know about, which is, I guess, entirely possible because they probably want to remain a secret. I don't see anything in the immediate future that is going to topple anything.
Yeah.
That said, people certainly are getting more angry, and it would appear as if some people are beginning to try and do something about it. 1
million people protesting in Venezuela's capital. 1 million people on the. That's wow. That's
yeah. And if you go look at the pictures, there's just, I mean, it's a lot of people. A lot of people.
I wanted to ask Stephen earlier about the immigration issue. So I want to ask you as we go to close here. We have the issues with Venezuela falling. You have the issues with the Syrian refugees who are being forced here. And you had Bill Clinton talking about sending 10,000 refugees to Detroit to virtually fill up all the empty houses that they have there. You have Merkel on immigration. She's losing in Germany, and this was the first test, this election. Britain left the European Union because of immigration. Erdogan is trying to sell the Europeans on him being the broker for getting the immigrants back into the Middle East. It seems that immigration is the number one issue around the world because Venezuelans are thinking about leaving Venezuela for other South American nations. What say you? Is this time for Americans to seriously think about immigration and this election?
Yes, though I think probably Europe needs to think about it more, if that makes sense. I mean, really, most of it is all down to one issue, right? And that is the immigration of Islam into all of these other countries. And I think that yes, it's going to continue to be an issue. Immigration seems it's going to continue to happen illegally, and the other part of this is that even for people, even if you don't have more people, Muslims immigrating to your country, at least in Western Europe, there are already so many, and they've become essentially so, politically powerful that they are changing policies and, and the way people live already.
Yeah.
And that's not going to go away. That's only going to get worse.
There you go. The fact that almost 1,000 girls being raped in one night by Mohammedans in Europe. The bottom line is all these things are happening around the world. It's spilling out of those particular countries. They're going to look for a place to go. The U.S. is a very charitable place, a very compassionate place. We could begin receiving boatloads of these individuals, or at least large numbers of these individuals that are coming here. We seriously got to take a look at immigration. The way that the Germans are telling Merkel that she needs to seriously take a look at immigration. Janis, we love you. And the people around the world love you as well. The people of Germany who tune in and listen to you. Ukraine tune in and listen to you. Great Britain's tuning in and listening to you. Your final words to them tonight. What do you want to say to them?
What do I want to say to them? Well, all right. So I have one more story that I wanted to talk about.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So I saw this today. This didn't happen today. I think it happened over the weekend. One word, everybody. Harpoons.
Harpoons.
Yes. So, I'm still processing this. So apparently what happened is on Corsica, there was a brawl, a relatively large brawl, between some North African Muslims and some local kids, youth, probably teenagers, early college. Anyway, apparently it was about taking pictures. And the youth, the teenagers were taking pictures, and the Muslims didn't like it, and things got out of hand. Now that is the story that we're going with right now.
That's what we're going with.
There could be more involved in that. There could have been some baiting, there could have been some other harassment that we don't know about. But point being, whatever it is that it did happen, it came a somewhat violent confrontation. And so after, and there was actually like a couple of these things that happened. So the kids get beat up, and then a whole bunch of their parents and their parents' friends go to try and beat up the Muslims, and then we end up with this huge fight. And okay, so now we're going to get to the harpoons. And apparently, like 5 people were injured, and the Muslim group apparently had hatchets, which I can give them. Okay, that's not something I normally like carry around, so I'll give that to them. That's a pretty common item, all right? And harpoons.
Wow.
I don't even know.
Hatchets and harpoons. Wow.
Harpoons, people. I just don't even know. I mean, it's
that must have hurt.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything to say. Hatchets and harpoons.
That's it.
Leave it at that.
Ladies and gentlemen, forget the guns. Don't even go to the gun store, gun shop anymore. Buy yourself a harpoon. You will save a lot of money and have a great control over your existence. Janis, we love you. And we look forward to you coming back next Tuesday night for the Janis Hall World Report. God bless you, girl. We'll talk to you soon.
Good night.
Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, I have watched this young lady grow up, and she's becoming more and more conservative every day. I love the harpoon story. Make certain that you buy a harpoon for the one you love. We'll be back with more of the best in the Urban Conservative Talk right after these messages. I assure you that.
Don't stop feasting on the flavor of Urban Conservative Talk. Go to theexceptionalconservativeshow.com. There you can Facebook us, tweet us through Twitter, download our podcast and our mobile app. Listen, take us wherever you go.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying Catholics do.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Saka as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
It's a love story like no other. From God's heart to yours. And for 30 years, it's been at the heart of every book, Bible, CD, gift, and resource from ChristianBook.com. Over 500,000 products, always at the very best value. ChristianBook.com. Everything Christian. Because it's our story, too.
Hi everybody, it's Kristen. I'm here to review women's spirits made by dogs. I love these shoes. I am an FM sufferer, so finding shoes that don't make my feet hurt is very tough. These don't make my feet hurt. I've tried Pumas, I've tried Nikes. Nikes are pretty good. Pumas I can't wear. They hurt my feet too much. I mean, it's to the point to where my feet hurt so bad to where I can't even walk. So I was so happy whenever I was contacted to review the new dogs. I love these dogs. I love these things. My feet don't hurt when I wear them. They got the holes in them to keep my feet cool. They got massaging bumpies inside. Feels like you're walking on little things of foam. I mean, like, it's just awesome. I just love it. The heel is a deep well down in your heel, and it protects, it's a shock absorber. So if you're running in them or jumping in them, like if you're on a chair and you have to jump in them, It absorbs the shock. What else? And then it's a higher thing back here for your heel. So it's like a really high thing that protects your ankle from when you're running, so there's no injuries, so it doesn't cause injuries. It's Velcro, so it's very easy to tighten your shoe, so whenever you're running, your shoe won't fall off when you're trying to run. I love these shoes, and I hope you guys really appreciate this review, and there will be pictures at the end, like always. But I wish you would guys go check them out. These women's spirits are $40. There's a whole bunch of other kind of shoes that you can purchase as well. There are children's shoes, toddler shoes, infant shoes, men's shoes, women's shoes. Anything you can think of, they got it. And they're pretty cool. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you next time.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
From day's first light till night's last glimmer, your satisfaction is our responsibility. On the range or in the field of duty, you can rely on Brownell's lifetime guaranteed gun parts, tools, and supplies. Anytime, any place. It's how we've done business since 1939. Brownell's.
From coast to coast, there is one bank focused on building a better future. One bank with programs you can trust to help boost your economic picture. One United Bank. With rates better than the national average, no hidden fees, and even cashback debit cards, you'll feel the boost in your budget. One United Bank, the premier bank for urban communities in Boston, Miami, and Los Angeles. Visit us at oneunited.com or call 877-1UNITED today. Member FDIC.
I've seen a lot of places, I've been around the world. I've seen some pretty faces, been with some beautiful girls. After all I witnessed, one thing still amazes me. Just like a miracle, you have to see to believe. God bless Texas with his own hands, brought down angels from the promised land. Gave them a place where they could dance. If you want to see heaven, brother, here's your chance. I've been sent to spread the message. God bless Texas.
Thank you. God bless you.
First he let the sun shine, then he made the waters deep. Then he gave us moonlight for all the world to see. Well, everybody knows that the Lord works in mysterious ways. He took a rest, then on the very next day, God bless Texas with his own hand, brought down angels from the promised land. Gave them a place where they could dance. If you want to see heaven, brother, here's your chance. I've been sent to spread the message. God bless Texas.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you have reached the non-commercial part of the Exceptional Conservative Show. No more commercials tonight. There are only a few more moments left in this particular program, and Mary always says the best shows go so fast, and they go fast because I have not only the Professor Czarina in the house, but she is also my bouncer. And if you diss her, you diss me, you will be dismissed from the program. So glad to have had everyone. God bless you. So glad to have had you in the chat room tonight. Bring a friend with you tomorrow night. Also, White Mamba, we're praying for you, Mamba. We're praying and hoping that a great attorney like you will find your next spot according to the will of God and His place, that you can do His will abundantly beyond what you can even ask or think. Also praying for Dave Milner, that he puts out more great work like he did tonight. Blasphemy. It's beautiful. Great work, man. Absolutely great work. And we love playing his stuff. You can find his stuff at SHR Media, in fact, which is broadcasting us live tonight. We thank you so much. Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint, Free Sacco, also Mark the Bloviavian Zeppelin for being a contributor to their program. And I give Sean a lot of push around or whatever, but that's my brother in Christ. That's my boy. That's my man right there. So, Sackhead Sean, you know I love you. Also, want to thank Ralph Chittums. He was here for a little bit earlier. I hear he's going to be on this week News One's program with the guy with the ascot, the black liberal who is so angry and bitter. Yeah. Intelligence is not a requirement to be a liberal. And certainly not logic either. But he's going to be on their program, and no one pisses him off the way Ralph J. Chittums does. I want to thank Mrs. Biggs also for being here tonight and watching the program, watching over me. I will be criticized for not having Janis's phone number handy. Ken, Dave says, Ken, let me finish my 9/11 show, and I'll try to send a couple more. Thanks, my friend. Oh, man, thank you. Listen, I want to thank all of you all for... and I want to encourage those people who are listening around the world, if you can be up at this time of the morning, and it's 9 p.m. here to 11 p.m. that we're on the air Eastern time in the U.S. I know that that's really a bit strident for some of you. India and China, Uganda, and London. I know it's a bit strident. But if you can come into the chat room, I greatly would appreciate it. Tomorrow night, we have the Kraken with us, Ralph J. Chittums. We will break open the cage to let him out. Thank you, Mamba, for reminding me of that. We will also have Shannon, who will take center stage tomorrow night out of Be More. And, of course, Lonnie Poindexter, the most handsome man in radio, will be on with us. And we will be doing all that we can to get you a very special guest in the first quarter of the program. I want to leave you all with this. And I'm talking right now to the Hispanic, Latino, Cuban, black, colored, Negro, African American, whoever you are, who's running for office. There are only 70 days left in this campaign. And I know some of you all have been trying to run your campaigns the way that you've been taught by the RNC. Run a traditional campaign. Raise a lot of money. Knock on people's doors. Go to different events. Try to do a couple of interviews. And catch on with the bulk of the voters. And that may work if you're already an incumbent. But I want to remind some of you all, and I'm not going to mention any names, because then some people would be offended. But anytime you are fighting the established, whether they are on the other side of the aisle or on your aisle, You cannot fight with the tactics that they use to win their wars. It would be like asking Cuba to use nuclear armaments against the U.S. It ain't going to happen. 90 miles away, they're not strong enough nor powerful enough to deal with the U.S. It would be like asking South Korea to tie its hands of its Air Force and Navy behind its back to take on North Korea. That's what I'm saying. You don't fight the way they fight and expect to win. Sun Tzu says in The Art of War, and I'm reading it because it's on my wall. I read it every single day. He who knows the enemy and himself will never in 100 battles be at risk. He who does not know the enemy but knows himself will sometimes win and sometimes lose. He who knows neither the enemy nor himself will be at risk in every battle. Let me explain to you something. In this traditional war that you're fighting to win election against an incumbent or against your political opponent on the left, all of you hyphen American politicians, you have to revert to The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I know some of you all have never read it. Some of you all will say, hey, even if I read it, I wouldn't understand it. But the whole premise of Sun Tzu is that you fight a guerrilla war. Tomorrow night, in the first quarter, and I just want to premise this because I didn't expect, I thought I would have more time to talk with you about it. I don't have enough time. But I'm encouraging you, if you know a politician who's running for office, if they look like they're going to lose by a lot, they should tune in tomorrow night because I am going to tell you how you can, in the next 70 days, turn your campaign around and win by guerrilla warfare. You cannot play the political game with the establishment because they don't want you there in the first place, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. The establishment has one thing: to protect its rule, to protect its power. You are a threat. Even if they have come out and told you we're willing to support you and they have plenty of money behind it, you're a threat to them. You got to fight over the next 70 days in a different manner than they expect. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about guerrilla warfare, winning the election you didn't think you could. So, my guerrilla warfare, folk, I'm going to be armed tomorrow. I'm going to have my threads on. We're going to talk about warfare. We're going to talk about raiding. We're going to talk about sabotage. And no, I'm not talking about pulling signs from people's yards. That's not what I'm talking about. Ambushes, hit and run tactics, using mobility so that you can win against a less mobile traditional. Listen, that person's got $200,000, $500,000. They're not trying to spend it. They don't even think that you're on the radar screen. And that's the way you're going to win. Listen, a friend of mine told me, always be brave. Do not die a coward. I promise you, I will never die a coward. We will always be brave. And we're going to win elections that a lot of people didn't think that we could. So, from all of us at the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from Washington, D.C., I want you to know one thing. God has blessed America. It's time now for America to bless God. We'll see you tomorrow night, 9-10 p.m., guerrilla warfare. Let's win these wars, baby. Let's win these wars. God bless you.
With his own hand, wrong down angels from the palm of the slain. He gave them a place where they
God bless Texas.